Nick was born and bred and educated here in South Australia. He comes with a particular perspective about the state. He has been charged with ensuring that BankSA has a long-term sound future. And he's going to share with us today his thoughts on how that will be achieved in the immediate coming years. Without further ado, I'd like you all to welcome Nick Reade.
I'll do my best to avoid the blue duck, which I'm told is for talking too long. Thank you, Hume, and thank you, Peter, for the invitation to be here today. I'm very much looking forward to talking about the state that we all love, South Australia, the state that I love, and also the economy and the transformation that is we're undertaking at BankSA. Before I get too far, I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting today on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and pay my respects to elders both past and present. Last year I also spoke at a Rotary event, the Eastwood Rotary Club, and in preparing for that speech and also thinking about today, it's always important to reflect on the values of Rotary and what Rotary is all about. And I did some research and I found an article that was from the News, Adelaide News, on January 18, 1926. This article was quite interesting because it talks about Rotary, and it talks about Mr. R.A. Haynes, who was involved in this meeting at the Adelaide Rotary Club back then. And it talked about, and just to summarise it, sort of starts off talking about businesses for rogues and businesses just bad news. And it goes on to talk about how Mr. Haynes was trying to get the crowd to understand that business isn't so bad and we should humanise business somewhat. And I think that's what Rotary is all about, and brought some great values and ethics to what you're doing. And I hope to display a little bit of that today with what BankSA is trying to do under our current strategy. So I guess I wanted to really talk about the economy. I wanted to talk about how I'm a South Australian, a proud South Australian who's very keen to see South Australia be successful, to see the bank be successful within that. And I actually think they're inextricably linked, that if we can create a strong economy, then obviously BankSA can play a major role in that. And I guess my role in the bank at BankSA, I do get to see and talk to a lot of people, and probably get an inside running on how the economy is really going and where there's some good things and not so good things. So I'll plan to talk about a bit of that. So, there's plenty of news. The last few weeks has been pretty interesting. If you've been following the news politically, economically, there's a lot to talk about. So I guess it's probably the one that's worrying South Australians the most is the resources sector and how that's come off the boil a little bit and creating some real challenges. There's certainly uncertainty around the submarine industry and what's going on there. I think if you're anything like me, you're probably summed up by being confused what's really going on. There's certainly announcements around France, Germany, Japan all being able to submit tenders, and that whole process that went into the spill vote a few weeks ago was quite funny to watch, and I must admit I was confused. And Jane and a few others who work in BankSA are from the ASC, so we're all a bit sort of scratching our heads at what is really going on. But we really do feel it's a very important topic for us, and I caught up with the Premier only last week and the Treasurer last week, and it's very much a big issue for them, as you all know. I guess I'm somewhat pleased to see new topics coming out around tax reform and nuclear. No matter what your views are, we need to explore new growth opportunities for South Australia. That is, I think, something that we can all agree on. And I'm personally pleased to see debate at least, and let's have the debate and see where that goes. From an economy perspective, you know, we're not going so well. You know, I guess the things to look for are our growth rates, and you know, we're around 1.3% at the moment for the year just gone, and you know, that's not anything to sort of get too excited by, and certainly below the national average, but the national average is come down a bit as well, so that's a bit of a concern, but our long range sort of average is more around 2.6%, so we're coming down to around about half that, which is you know, is a bit of a worry, but you know, we tend to make the most of it. We're a pretty resilient bunch here in South Australia, so we do make the most of it, but it is a concern. And the biggest concern, I think, for all of us is jobs and unemployment. And you know, really, that is the story that we're confronted with. And right now, in fact, this afternoon I'll be talking to some journalists about our most recent State Monitor, which is a survey of business confidence and consumer confidence, and confidence, whilst increasing a little bit on both consumer and business, is really being impacted by concerns of jobs growth, concerns of unemployment. And in fact, if it wasn't for those two things or related things, the actual confidence would be up quite a bit. So it's actually taken a real dive in the last period, which is around 5 or 6 months. And there's plenty of reasons for that, and there's plenty of announcements, whether it be Santos, whether it be Arium, whether it be government even, BHP Bulletin and the like. I mean, they're all talking about, in terms of the resources sector, pulling back, and that's a real concern. And I think something that is worrying all of us in South Australia, we've really got to find a way to get some jobs growth in this market. Obviously, our sort of population growth is a real headwind in regards to that, and whilst overall population growth is positive for us, it's not anywhere near enough to really sustain a really good position on that going forward. Things like retail spending is also modest for us, and you know, it's increased a little bit lately, which is good, around 4%. So that's not too bad, but we're still concerned a little bit about retail sales and how we can make sure that it stays up higher for the long term. Our housing growth, which we're all very much passionate about in terms of housing price growth, is definitely lower than the eastern seaboard. The growth that Sydney has seen, for example, our recent Trends Bulletin talked about that at BankSA, and you know, you're seeing significant double-digit growth in Sydney. We are much more modest, sort of 3 to 4, 5%, depending on whether it's housing or units. So you know, it's okay. In fact, we probably don't want the highs and the lows. Steady as she goes is not so bad, actually, in some regards. But what it does mean is investment tends to go somewhere else, and you know, investors chase you know, the higher returns, and you know, that's an issue for us as a state when investors are going elsewhere for higher returns, that we're not getting the dollars spent here in South Australia. We would expect the dollar to finish around 75 cents at the end of the year, so there's been a reasonable correction there over the last period of time. You know, we did, I remember my last trip overseas with the family was at $1.05, that was good fun, but I think we're going to have to get used to a dollar much more around the 75 cent range. So go and buy your, prepay your overseas trips, it would be my advice if you're looking to travel overseas. And certainly low interest rates is really good, depending if you're you know, if you've got a home loan or whether you're a retiree and saving, you know, it obviously makes a big difference. But as a general comment for the economy, low interest rates is good, and this state is seeing the benefits of that. We're seeing that from a banking perspective. Certainly, people are out in force, looking for housing, looking to primarily first home buyers, but some investors here in South Australia. But it's you know, it all goes well when, you know, there's speculation of whether the RBA will cut rates again, and I think there's the views are fairly mixed. Some think they will, some think they won't. But you know, our house view is one more may come in the next few months. So, what is there really to be positive about? You know, we have to, you know, I'm generally a very positive person, a very glass half full person, and I think there are some things that we need to look at in South Australia. You know, we do think that growth can lift over the medium term. We think that there are some industries that we absolutely should be focusing on, and one of those that our research is, and it's not a secret, but certainly international education is a great opportunity. It's a big industry. It's about $1 billion industry and growing in South Australia, and we think our sort of cost competitiveness and proximity to Asia is just so important to seeing that industry thrive over the next few years and beyond. You know, as much as it's taking a knock right now, the gas industry I think is one that we have a very pro-development government, one that's very focused on supporting that industry, and I think that can be a real advantage for us. Tourism I think is another one, which we're a beautiful place to live, beautiful place to visit. And I do think you know, the industry, in the tourism industry, can be really large for us going forward. We think it could go from about $5 billion a year to $20 billion a year by 2020. And I think Mark Young, someone I've spoken to about this from Adelaide Airport, would certainly support that view. Agribusiness is another area which I think is huge. I mean, again, our proximity to Asia, the need for protein from Asia, and our produce, our products, are going to be in great demand. We're already 7% of our gross state product is coming from agribusiness. That's nearly 3 times the national average. So you know, we've got something going for us there, and I think we should absolutely maximise that. And finally, health. You know, definitely great opportunities in health. We're certainly an ageing population, and I think that should be absolutely maximised at every opportunity. Is that beeping noise? Is that me? Or is that some hearing aid? Is it okay? I want to turn now just to BankSA because, as Hugh mentioned, it's nearly a year since I've been at BankSA and as the CEO, and it's kind of very quickly. We do have a lot going on, and you know, I'm really happy with how we're going, but we're having to make some tough decisions and face into some real challenges. And I want to talk to you about it. I want to be really open, and I want to be really honest about that. So about a year ago, a bit over a year ago, I got a call to come and lead BankSA, and the sort of mandate or the brief, if you like, or the job description was to transform BankSA. And I think you know, we've had a long history here, 166 years, very focused on this state and the Northern Territory more recently. And you know, and that's gone, you know, pretty well over a long period of time. There've been some ups and downs, as you all know, but really focused on this state, and we've done some things really, really well. We've focused on customers, and we've had a really good feeling about that. But more recently, we're finding that customers' expectations have changed, customers' behaviours have changed, and perhaps we haven't quite kept pace with that of late. And you know, the stark realities for me was coming in and perhaps doing a bit of research before as well, but listening to our team, and many would say, "Oh, we're the biggest bank in South Australia," you know, and I go, "Okay, is that right?" And yep. Well, no, it's not. You know, on some measures we are. Most customers, yes. Most points of representation, absolutely. We're the biggest bank by home loan market share. We were, but we're not anymore. We were around about 38 to 40% market share about 20 odd years ago. When I joined, we were 13%. That's a big drop in about 20, 25 years. We also were suffering from a decline in our customer base. So, not so good when you're looking to grow a business when your customer base is going backwards. So, more customers would leave than come to us. Pretty simple. Bit of a problem when you're a new CEO, but you know, the good news is that I felt like we had a really good foundation to work with. We've got a local board, we've got a local CEO, we've got local management. We make local decisions, whether they be management decisions or credit decisions, and we do have a very large network of distribution, whether it be branches or bankers around the state. So I thought that was a pretty good starting point to work with. I really would like to just touch on a few of the key themes that are driving our strategy. So, firstly, innovation and technology. It's completely transforming the world, not just our business. And it's just amazing to see how much it's changing. So you'd probably be shocked to know that only 1 in 10 transactions today at BankSA is done in a branch. 9 out of 10 are done on digital or internet banking, you might know it as, or mobile phones or tablets, iPads and the like. And it's accelerating at a rapid rate. And for someone who's been working in innovation and e-commerce from the mid-90s, when I joined CommSec and set up Commonwealth Securities, the online stockbroker, even I'm a little scared by the pace that this is changing. So I wouldn't blame you in the room for sort of going, oh my God, what's actually going on here? But the consumer behaviour is rapidly changing, and even business behaviour and how it's working. So what that's meant for us is we've had to rapidly think about our digital offerings for customers, and I'm really pleased that we've come out pretty quickly in the last year and even in the last 6 months in this space. So things like the iPhone has now got fingerprint login, so we can now, if you're a BankSA customer, you can log in on your phone with your fingerprint. Fantastic. We were the first bank in the world to do that. A few years ago, we probably would have been the last bank in the world to do that. So it's a sign of change. It's only a small thing, very convenient thing, I have to say, if you're into that sort of thing. But a sign that we are trying to get at the forefront of new technology. You can also open new accounts on your mobile phone. You can. We've got a new tablet app. We've got a new mobile banking app as well. We've got great online tools for small businesses. My Business Connect we launched only a few weeks ago, which is an online portal for small business. And many other things in that sort of area where we just have to compete and we have to give customers what they want. And maybe in the old days, when we were saying earlier that maybe banks push technology onto customers, ATMs and things, now customers demand it of us. And it's almost flipped the other way, where they're demanding the stuff and we have to keep pace. And we have digital disruptors, we call them, which are these startups and technology businesses who all want to play in our space. I want to talk about courage, and that's an interesting topic for me. It's a challenging topic for me, not one I'm scared of, but coming in to BankSA, we do some absolutely wonderful things, but we also had some obvious challenges, and one is the fact that we have almost 100% more branches than the next highest bank, and we do have in regional South Australia, and in Metro South Australia we have about, so Adelaide, we have about 70% more branches than the next highest bank. So we're significantly more. In the city it's about 50 more. And that's a lot. When you've got a channel now that's used by 1 in 10 customers, what does that mean? And that's pretty tough, and I think the courage comes from actually facing into it and actually accepting that and having to make some decisions that aren't always popular. In short, as some of you would know, we made a decision last year to close about 10% of our branches. I absolutely think that was necessary. The good thing about it was we renovated the nearest branch, which was typically just around the corner. So we spent money on that. We put video in. We promoted the fact that there's a branch within minutes of just about every branch we're talking about here. And by and large, that went down okay, and we're still going through that process. There's a few more of that initial group we're talking about that is finishing at the moment. But it wasn't about cost. It was about how do we reinvest in the business. So we're investing more money than we ever have invested right now in BankSA. We're spending $35 million on the branches alone. We're hiring bankers again. We're rebranding, which I'll talk about in a minute. And it's a lot of things going on that I think is really good, and I'm really pleased about that. There's investment going back into the business. The customer at the centre of what we do is another theme, and I guess this is where the humanising the business comes in. So We've got a very strong purpose at BankSA, which is all about getting people into their homes and helping businesses start, prosper and grow. And you know, we're very serious about that. And what we decided to do was to look to see around the world who's the best in customer service. And we very quickly looked at someone like Apple, who is doing so well, how their customer experience is so admired around the group, but not well known to many people is that Apple's customer experience is actually modelled off Ritz-Carlton, who's the hotel chain. So we decided to work with Ritz-Carlton on our customer service ethic, and whilst we were pretty comfortable it's in the right space because of our customer satisfaction scores, we knew we could take it up another notch. So basically, we've trained all our staff at BankSA by some help and some consultation, I should say, by the Ritz-Carlton group. They've trained every one of our staff in you know, a model which we absolutely believe in. And the best way to give you a sense of that is to give you two examples which would change the way we think and do things. And the way I look at it is changing from transactions to, or thinking about things with the head, and changing it to thinking about it with the heart. And I guess, you know, you can always, you want a home loan, we can give you a home loan, you want to open a transaction account, we can do that. But how do you make that experience more special? How do you make it a magic moment, we call it? How do you create a wow moment, we also call it? And a recent example in Norwood was a customer who came in, in fact it was a couple who wanted to basically take out a loan to fund their child's, their boy's flight lessons, so airplane flight lessons, want to be a pilot. Our team, who weekly, 3 times a week in fact, meet to talk about this ethos, this credo we call it in the bank now, met to say how can we make that experience even better? We could give the home loan, that'll be fine, no problems, but how do we make it a magic experience? So they decided to contact Matt Hall, who's the Red Bull aeroplane pilot, who is the best pilot for that type of thing in Australia. They got on Twitter, they tweeted him, said, can you contact us? We'd love to talk to you about how we can make this moment special for this boy. And Matt Hall got in contact, they connected up, and very simply, Matt Hall tweeted that the son of the two parents, saying, blue skies, best of luck with your flight lessons, all the best, Matt Hall. The kid was just amazed, absolutely blown away. Parents were blown away that we would think about just embellishing that experience to that degree. So that's the difference between a transaction that was just head, home loan, no problems, do it well, heart, no, we'll make it a bit more special. Another example was from Mount Gambier recently, where a customer came in. It was a man who was a bit distressed. He was disabled from injuries, really struggling, didn't know what to do, came to see one of our bankers about his affairs, and the banker took time to understand this customer's issues, and basically went through all his payments coming in and going out, saw all these payments to insurance companies, and he didn't really know what it was all about, had no idea, you know, really the detail of any of it. And our banker said, look, you know, basically took it onto her own sort of accord and went off and rang every single one of those companies to find out what this customer actually had with those companies. And again, to cut a long story short, found out that the customer was eligible for a $270,000 payout from one of those companies, from one of the insurance policies that he had no idea about. So, great story. Our banker was able to go back to the customer and say, connect up him with the insurance company. He then got paid the $270,000 and changed his life. Again, you know, could have just done a basic needs review and, you know, give you some stuff, but, you know, this banker went beyond, and this is what we're trying to do. Do we do it every time? No. We'd like to, yes, we would, but this is the journey we're on, and you know, I'm being pretty open that we, if you walked into a branch today, you might get that, and you might not, but we're very much focused on trying to make it 100% of the time. Our brand is worth talking about, very topical. Late last year we decided to change the brand of BankSA. The Desert Pea, which a number of people were fond of, was no more, and the reason for that was very simple. The vast majority of people were giving us feedback that we were old, we were stodgy, we were tired, and not for them. And when you're trying to grow a customer base, probably not with the sort of brand sort of values that you sort of want to be coming up in the top of your research. Why, you know, when we dug deeper, we said, well, tell me more. Well, we think South Australia is actually doing all right. There's momentum, there's innovation, there's construction, there's the Adelaide Oval, there's you know, the two-way freeway, there's the Samri, there's the hospital being built. We don't see the same vibrancy and action and construction, you know, in a sense of business development from BankSA. We all dug even deeper. What does that really mean? Well, you don't look like for us, you know. So we decided to change the look and feel. We changed the logo. We've come up with a tagline, which is "Let's do this," which is a very positive statement about getting on with stuff, making stuff happen, something that I'm very passionate about. Let's not talk about it, let's actually do it. You know, copped a bit of criticism, I have to say, but I think we're on the right track. I'll come back to why in a minute. Another area that I'm passionate about, you mentioned it, small business, innovation, entrepreneurship, something that I think is fundamental to growth in the economy. We need to support it. The bank needs to support it. You know, I've come from an area lending money to small businesses. I feel like I understand it, and I feel like we can do more as banks to support it. BankSA certainly intends to do exactly that. You know, we've remodeled our business model in our corporate and commercial bank. We've hired a head of small business banking. We've put more bankers on. We've taken paperwork away from bankers to give them more time to spend with customers. We've brought in digital offerings, and you know, we're just starting to lend a bit more money, to be quite frank. You know, we'll lend over $1 billion this year to small to medium-sized business in BankSA, and it's a decent clip more than last year. We think it's at least a couple $100 million more than last year, and you know, we're on the right track there. So plenty of things happening in that space, something that I'm very proud of, but we've got to deliver. It's no good talking about it, we've actually got to do it, and the numbers would suggest that that's actually happening. I guess the last thing I want to talk about is really looking after the community that looks after you, or us in this case. And you know, we're a very proud participant in the South Australian marketplace. We've been here for a long time. We're very much interested in what's important to South Australians, and what's important to South Australians is really important to us. That's why we have a very important and valuable staff foundation called the BankSA Foundation. It was the BankSA and Staff Charitable Fund. It's now called the BankSA Foundation, and we raise over $400,000 every year for very worthwhile charities in South Australia. It's also a reason why we sponsor the Fringe Festival each year. Our 10th anniversary has just passed. This current Fringe, it's an amazing event. It's doing a lot for South Australia, and we're very proud to support it. It's also a reason why we sponsor the Royal Show, another iconic event for South Australians, and we love the show, and we like to make a difference in things that are important in South Australia. But we also sort of feel like it's not incumbent on you know, governments to do all the work. We've got to do some work. We've got to step up and have a real crack, and hopefully you get a sense that that's happening at BankSA. And I guess I wanted to say that, you know, the reasons why I think we're on the right track is that our market share is growing again. Our business market share is growing. Our home lending share is growing. Our customer base is growing, and you know, we're pretty pleased about that. And a final sort of word is really to get behind the bank that gets behind South Australia. Thanks very much. Cheers. We have time for one question, Peter?
No.
No?
No.
In in that case, sorry, you were going to say yes?
No, afterwards.
No? Afterwards. If you wait a couple of minutes afterwards, we'll give you the opportunity to catch up with Nick then. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had an excellent opportunity, one which we in fact don't have too often, to talk with one of the key organisations in this state, and I think today has been quite illuminating for me, and I hope for you too. Please join me in giving congratulations to you, Nick, and wishing you every success in the future. Thank you.